Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of. Hold on a second. Let me start over. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Mainstream Monday here on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody. I've got my co-host here, John Ward. How you doing,
That's
John?
that's me. I'm fine. How are you?
That is you.
Yes.
Um, so we're gonna be talking about the I guess it was 2014 or 15. Um, Let me look this up. 2014 film Annabelle, that was made basically after The Conjuring was made, because The Conjuring was a hit, I guess, or at least it became a bigger hit later. A lot of people talked about it, and they decided to make a spin-off, I guess,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, I guess at the time maybe an origin story, but it is, but it
Yeah,
isn't.
it's a semi-origin story that that isn't the full origin story, because like even in this one, as we saw in Annabelle Creation, they actually saw the doll get made. And then you see in the first in Annabelle Creation, you see that it's one of 100, right? And this sort of did talk about how this was like a collector's item or something.
Yeah, we questioned that on the last video of was there only one doll made and then the daughter got killed and or were there many dolls made?
So are there
And
other Annabelles out there?
I would think so because of the one in creation, the guy, the dad, the creator does tell the I think it's like a family that was coming out of church. They're like he's like, "Oh yeah, it's done." Unless that was the first doll. And then he's like tells the people, "No, I'm sorry, you can't have it." Or there's already multiple ones made. But I always took it that there was just one Annabelle, because then why isn't it like Chucky, where there's like thousands of them?
Well, okay, so there wouldn't be, but there would be a lot of dolls. There wouldn't be a lot of Annabelle dolls because there wasn't a lot of
Okay,
demons
I'll
that
say
went into.
the good guy dolls. There'd be
Right.
good guy dolls.
There's
Yeah,
a ton of
like
good
a
guy
thousand
guy.
good
I
guy
mean,
dolls.
hey, people have good guy dolls out there. They're out there in real
Well,
life.
and on the Chucky TV show, you find out that there's like a thousand of those dolls, and then they constantly say, "This is the last one. This is the last one," and then Chucky gets burnt up or explodes or something, and then right before the credits come on, you see the safe, and inside there's another good guy doll,
Of course.
or they open up a box and there's another one. So anytime they tell you that there's only one left, there's always one more. And so I wonder if that's the same thing with Annabelle, that if they destroyed the doll, is there another doll that it could go into? Because it's not called an Annabelle doll. It's just a doll. I don't even know if it has a name.
Could it go into that doll, the Raggedy Ann doll?
It could if they got the copyright.
I don't think the copyright really was the problem because I'm pretty sure that even the Conjuring like company could have gotten the rights to Raggedy Ann. I think the issue more or less was like it's not creepy looking enough, you know?
I think something more simple is scarier than something that looks like that. I mean, if you have to make it look scary, then it's probably not scary. It's simple things that are scary. Like a
Yeah,
chair rocking back and forth is scary. Like, what the fuck's in that chair?
right.
It's
And
just a chair.
why is it going back and forth when it's just a
Yeah.
doll on it? Yeah, yeah, no, that stuff like those kind of things I love in ghost stories and stuff where it's just as simple as somebody on the side just rocking the chair and we can't see it, or strings or whatever. But like something as simple as that of an effect can really like with the right music, with the right look, can really freak me out,
Sure.
you know. So let's talk a little bit about the background and the director of it happened to also be a director of photography for many of James Wan's projects. Not many, but I know he at least did like a couple of them or something. And he was and so I guess when he got asked to direct, step up and direct, right, on next, he did it. But he also did that He did that also for what is it? Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which is the worst
Oh,
Mortal Kombat movie ever.
oh no. You know what else he did?
Yes, I know. But
Oh
you can
my.
tell everybody,
The butterfly effect too.
which we did on the last season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. I didn't even know that. I never looked him up. Yeah, because he did, yeah, Mortal Kombat, Annihilation. Then he did, it took a few years, almost 10 years, and then he got to do Butterfly Effect 2, Annabelle, Wolves at the Door. Oh my God. Then another horrible one, Wish Upon, The Silence, and then something that's coming up called Lullaby. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, Wish Upon is horrible except for the ending. Well, I wouldn't say it's horrible, but it's not good. It's I slightly defend it, but
You
yeah, he's a
slightly
DP.
defend it.
Yeah, one and I'll make this brief so we don't go off track. Is with Wish Upon is I know a lot of the critics had a problem with the thing that the main girl is wishing on is that she like critics I remember saying like, well, why doesn't she wish for world peace? Why doesn't she wish like good things for homeless people? Why doesn't she wish for cancer to go away? Well, why would she? She's a teenage girl.
Wait,
You
well,
know,
that was what
she
people are complaining about?
yeah, and it's like, and when I watched it, I'm like, but she's wishing for what a teenage girl would wish for, like to be pretty, to get the hot guy in school, to be popular, to be head cheerleader. It's like, what does she care about? You know, like hunger.
I hate to say
She
this is gonna
wouldn't.
sound terrible, but why I wouldn't wish upon world peace. Because the problem is like, well, first of all, in these movies, when you wish upon something bad always happens because of the wish or whatever. But even if like everything good happened, I just feel like world peace would last like maybe 5 minutes. We would get world peace for like 5 minutes, and then somebody would fuck it up, you know, and it would go back
Yeah,
to the world we live in because we don't live in a world where it's just completely peaceful because that wouldn't be that wouldn't be the world, like that would be a terrible world. I would not want world peace.
yeah. It's something to come by very difficult. Um, but this guy you had mentioned that he was a DP. He was the DP on Child's Play 3, which is pretty good, and the original Mortal Kombat. But as far as James Wan, he was the
Guys,
DP on Dead Silence. Oh God, he was the DP on I Know Who Killed Me. He's also Death Sentence. He was the DP on
yep.
Piranha 3D,
Which one,
Insidious
3D or 3DD?
3D 1D, Insidious, The Conjuring, and Insidious 2.
Wow.
So, yeah, he also worked on like Weird Science, Commando, another
Wait, what?
48 hours.
Wait, he worked on it or did he direct
Yeah, the
DP it?
no, these are other credits like
Uh,
camera assistant, focus,
so where you
camera
got to start?
operator. Yeah. So he's worked on a fair amount of movies. I don't think
And he
this
worked
film
his way
was
up. I mean,
yeah, this wasn't poorly made.
I kind of feel bad. Like, I mean, Wish Upon at least was one of the first ones I see that is very is like original. Like mostly he did like sequels or spin-offs or whatever.
Yeah, what is in who's the lead in Wish Upon? Joey, what's her name? Joey.
I don't remember.
Oh God, she's in like the kissing booth movies and shit. Where she always looks sad. Everything about her, she just looks sad.
The
And
Kissing Booth movies?
yeah, there's like 3 or 4 of them. How do I
Hmm.
know these movies and you don't?
I don't know. I've never even
Oh,
heard of them.
Joey King. That's her name. Joey King.
Joey King. I know that name.
She always has like black under her eyes. She always looks really sad. So it's kind of a weird choice to make her like the lead in like the kissing booth
Oh,
films.
she's in the Bullet Train movie. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing that she's done. So, but yeah, I don't think this was poorly. I don't even think it was poorly written. I actually kind of liked it a little bit more
I
from the
I
last two times.
so it is a movie that sort of grows a little bit on you when you watch it, but having watched the first, like the creation, you know, first, it really fucks everything up.
Oh
Like,
my God. Okay, so yeah, well, first I'll say all the deleted scenes in this, there was 20 minutes, except for one. I would say it was a good thing they were cut out. They didn't move the story forward at all. But there is one deleted scene where the mother, who by the way is named Annabelle in real life,
yeah, Annabelle
um,
Wallis.
yeah, that so do you think it was confusing on set when they'd go,
I was,
Annabelle, do you think the doll and her turn at the same time and go, what?
yeah, I was wondering the same thing actually. I was gonna make that joke, but then I decided no, and then I'm glad you did because I
There you
didn't.
go.
You
Well, yeah,
know.
let me do the dumb comedy. I'll take the blame for it. But there's the scene of her where Belial, or whatever the name of the demon is, I think it's close to that or whatever, is down this hallway, and it's holding her baby, and she's like screaming, like, "Give me back my baby!" And then she runs to it, and I thought, oh my God, that's the only scene where she truly like actually stands up for herself and her kid
Hmm.
and goes to attack the demon.
That's why they had to cut it out.
Well,
We
yeah,
can't have
and
any of that shit.
well, there's some stuff that was reshot because it deals with the photograph that the
Hmm.
priest gives her at the end. And by the way, that's the priest that's in the curse of
So that's what you were saying, because you were saying like there was
I thought
a
maybe it was a cop or something. But then when I saw him, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one from, was it Lala Rocha or
yeah,
Lala
La Llorona. So
Lala
you're
Rona?
right, because you said it was, but you did say it was The Conjuring too, and not Annabelle. So I guess it was Annabelle that it was a sort of, I mean, in the universe, but it was
Yeah,
Annabelle, like the
I'm
priest in
pretty
Annabelle.
sure it's him. Yeah, and he does mention Annabelle, but I don't think by name. He just goes, yeah, I dealt with a doll. So
See,
it's because,
that's,
but
I
the
mean,
doll
I,
wouldn't
I
have a
guess you have to
name.
tie it in, but like, that's just, I
I
hate that
mean,
kind of crap.
but that one scene is, but there's a whole character missing. There's a landlord, like maintenance guy, that's in their building when they moved to Pasadena,
Hmm.
which I kept trying to figure out if they actually did shoot in Pasadena because I was
I
happy
was thinking
about
that,
that.
so you and I are always on the same wavelength now, because when I saw Pasadena, I'm like, oh, John must be happy and excited to see that name, pop up,
Yeah, and I'm trying
because,
to figure, like, is that a real place?
and
How
I
does that
actually
building
thought
look
that too. I was like,
familiar?
wait, but then I was like, this is kind of sucky because like when you watch a movie like this, you're not watching it for like the exteriors because nobody really goes outside. This is like a haunted house movie, you know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's well, I like that it's two locations, so we get the house and then we get the apartment
Up, we get
and
the hospital.
the hospital, and I like that the husband is
Wait, two different
sup-
hospitals, I think, because at one point she gets hurt or whatever in the beginning, and then later, the
yeah, there's probably the one
fathers,
that he's working at, and then there's the one that he gets the residency at in Pasadena.
yeah.
Yeah, so probably, yeah, probably two, but primarily it's the two homes. But
Hmm.
I did like that he was more or less pretty supportive. I mean, at one point he does get a little mad where it's just like, okay, come on. And I was actually expecting him to go like, honey, are you on your period? For with how nutty she is.
Well,
Because that's always a man's first
there
question.
there's a great line in the movie where she asks him, like, or she says to him, wow, I'm surprised you actually believe me, kind of thing. And I go, of course, out loud, this is what I say, to myself. I go, of. He believes you. He's even said the place was cursed, before. He knows something fucking weird keep going on. And you know what? So he throws out the Annabelle doll, then she magically comes back when they move, you know,
In a box, yeah.
in a box. And my cat is driving me nuts right now.
So this frustrates me from from creation. So
Hmm.
at the end of creation, we see, and we went over this in the last video, but I'll quickly summarize it. Um, Crippled girl gets the black goo in her, becomes the Belial demon, and then for some reason, there's the doll is also possessed, which is known as Annabelle.
Right.
So then there's the big fight. The doll is stuck in the closet. The crippled girl who can now walk because she's now possessed disappears. Then we cut to, sometime later, we see the orphanage, and the two parents who then are in Annabelle come
Mm-hmm.
up, and they're like, "Oh, well, what's your name?" And the little girl goes, "Annabelle," which makes no sense at all, because the spirit or the demon that went in her is not named
We
Annabelle.
talked
It's,
about that on the last episode.
yeah, it's like Belial, which I get that he uses a fake name, or it uses a fake name, but then
Because it's a
we,
girl, it's not gonna go, "Hi, my name is Belial. Nice to meet you."
well, Belial E, maybe like IE at the end, Belial E,
Belial? No,
Belial E, sure,
I
why
well,
not?
I don't think so. What I think it would do is it would be that girl, and that girl was named Annabelle. Well, not the girl that was there. It was the girl that the demon basically took over, you know?
I I would not, no, I wouldn't think so, because they're, now if you're talking about the crippled girl's actual name in the film, I
It,
don't think that
no, but
Belial
they
would
actually
take
say
that.
Annabelle at one point. The mother actually calls her Annabelle at the end of the movie.
Right, because that's what she says her name is in the orphanage. But what, that doesn't make sense to the doll Annabelle. So now there's two Annabelles. There's the human form of Annabelle, and then there's the doll version of Annabelle, which has the demon is in both of them.
Mm, I guess.
So then we see, so I would think that the crippled girl who's no longer crippled would not say that she's Annabelle or her real name in the movie. She would say, "Oh yeah, my name is Susan," or something, because they were
Right.
looking for her. They said that she couldn't get far. We'll look for her. So then we cut to even later, where Annabelle has now joined a cult, and she and her Charles Manson boyfriend murder the adoptive parents.
Right. And we get
Okay,
a little bit more information on that in this one because
right, but we don't
because
see the full thing in Annabelle. We only
yeah,
see
we only
the
see
Manson guy.
yeah, and we only yeah, we you get to see a little clip of him or whatever, clip of her. We see a little bit of them at the end and stuff. And then we see the setup because you see the original parents, right? That are in the first 5 minutes of Annabelle. They're also at the 5 minutes at the end of,
Creation, yeah.
creation. So it's the same family. So it is definitely, which is pretty cool, because they don't have the same two people. The Annabelle and the boyfriend aren't the same two people, I don't believe.
No, Annabelle is.
I don't
the
think she,
director the director says in the commentary that he tried to get back everybody, all the original people, but the guy who played the Manson character was not available.
okay.
So they used a different guy for him, which really doesn't matter because you only see him through a window.
Yeah,
It's
you don't
not
really see him
until
like you don't see his
creation when we get the close-ups of everybody. Now, this is where things are retconned, kind of like we're going to have the same problem with The Conjuring, is now we're finding out that Annabelle, who's a little girl, was in a cult and grew up in a cult, and then was with, and then when she got to be X amount, which doesn't make sense to the parents. So was she a little girl in a cult because she's shown as like a ghost form with like the cult clothes on? And then does she grow up to a certain age? Then she gets put into an orphanage. The parents then adopt her. Then X amount of years later, she leaves to be in another cult with the Charles Manson
I
guy,
don't know
and
because
then
it's not
comes
the
back.
same Annabelle. It's not the same girl from the that gets run over by the car or truck or whatever. It's the chick that the Annabelle that grows up is the chick from the cripple girl from the first
That's
movie.
why the Annabelle name makes no sense in any of these movies, because
And it's just very confusing.
Annabelle
Like,
was the parents in creation thought Annabelle was the spirit that was floating around, or B, And then they said, okay, go into the doll that the dad made. And then they found out later it was this evil spirit, this Belial thing.
Right. Who used the
Never,
name
never.
Annabelle, but also knew exactly what the girl looked like. We talked about that on the last one. He knew exactly what the girl looked like because remember, she went and saw like the girl. She would see her in flashes or whatever. She would see the girl every now and then. So the doll was able to bring like a some kind of transformation of a being, that looked like their daughter so that they could, for a little bit of time could see their daughter again alive. Well, what they thought was alive, it wasn't really alive. It was more or less the uh evil spirit of the doll. And then later, but see, that's the thing, because later in the movie, um, you see a little girl running around, in the first Annabelle, and that is, I guess, supposed to be B, I would imagine.
No, that, well, it depends on what universe you want to live in. So if because that little girl is in the photograph that the cop shows the mom in Annabelle. And it goes, oh, well, here's a picture of her, and she looks like she's in the cult. She's got that
Oh,
dress on.
see,
And then
yeah.
there's the picture of her as the 20 something, I guess. Like, and so he has those two pictures going, see, notice how different they look. And that's the girl who ended up killing the parents. So it doesn't make sense. There's like
All right, right.
two
That's
worlds in this,
because
one where the crippled girl is at the orphanage, and then there's the one where the crippled girl wasn't crippled. She lives in a cult.
it's the same writer too. I don't know why he went back and just changed retconned his stuff to like be completely different than, like because that's completely different story. Like, they should have wrapped it around the Annabelle movie story, like somehow made it where I guess you would have had to figure out where the cult-like girl could fit in with the doll maker, right? Like, how can that all work and how can they all be? It's hard. It's like, I get it, but they kind of put themselves into a corner by saying, "Hey, let's
Oh,
create this
definitely.
this prequel." They shouldn't have made the prequel. Like, that sounds terrible because it's better than this one.
Well, they probably should
But
have just left out the whole cult thing. They probably should have just left out the girl from the cult, or just made it somebody else,
in
because
which one? In this one or the other one?
in Annabelle, they probably should have just left out that whole thing.
Right,
Or for Annabelle creation, they should have included it
right,
instead of her being in it the orphan. Because at no point in these two movies is the doll Annabelle.
right.
The doll's name is not Annabelle, it's Doll. The
Yeah.
doll. The doll moved here. All that stuff with the nurses, too. And we're going to see that in Annabelle Goes Home. Once again, we're skipping over it. Why are we not getting a movie with the nurses? They're in two films, and we see the two things twice.
Well, they're in The
Twice.
Conjuring, right? Were they in The Conjuring?
They're
I thought they were
no,
the
they're no,
I thought they were
they're
the first people in The Conjuring that had the doll because I thought the whole point was like they were getting the signs, they were getting the, follow me or whatever, want to play kind of signs through the door and everything. I thought those were the people in the beginning. I thought that those nurses were the people in The Conjuring.
they're in Annabelle.
No, I thought they were in The Conjuring too, like their story.
Right, but they're in Annabelle. They're in Annabelle Goes Home, because that's where the Warrens get the doll from, is from the nurses.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking, because I haven't seen The Conjuring in forever, but I'm thinking there's a little subplot with Annabelle, right? And there's a little stuff with like Annabelle sort of coming after some people. I think that's the nurses. So I think we did get their story, and it's kind of mixed in between Annabelle and uh Conjuring and Annabelle Comes Home.
But we don't get a full movie. That's my
Yeah, well,
point.
we get bits and pieces of it.
We see it like 3 times. I'm looking. So of course it's not in the like the synopsis for Conjuring. It doesn't mention that at all. But um, so I don't know because in Annabelle creation, they call her Annabelle, but
Mm-hmm.
she's the creature's not Annabelle that's in the doll. So the doll is now just evil doll. Then in Annabelle, the crazy daughter's name is Annabelle, but the doll is not called Annabelle. At no point does the mom ever say, "Oh, Annabelle moved." It's just the doll. Even the nurses say, "Oh yeah, it just moved. Like it was on a chair and not on a chair. Its head was left, and then we came back in the room and it was right." Nobody ever calls the doll Annabelle. Nobody.
Okay, the Wikipedia thing just only says that the Caroline contacts the Ed and Lorraine Warren, who've
Yeah,
recently
that's what I
investigated a
looked at. Yeah.
possessed doll called Annabelle. So, like, it just says that they were investigating. I think I think we get it's the same sort of scene, but I think we get a little bit of like what happened to them, you know, because we also hear in this one that the doll because this was the prequel, right? So uh I think the original prequel, before there's a prequel. But what I think happens, and I could be wrong, we'll find out in the next one, is that the nurses or whatever, we don't know they're nurses, we just know that they're, you know, some 20 something year olds talking to the Warrens about this possessed doll that keeps popping up and stuff like that. And then the Warrens take it from them in The Conjuring. Well, that's what I believe.
No, they take it in Goes Home.
Right. But they take it in Combs home, but I think they talk about it because they're investigating it then, I guess, or whatever.
We'll have to see because it's I don't remember that from The Conjuring, maybe, but it's in Annabelle. They're talking about the doll and the weird stuff that it does, and then in Goes Home we get more of that, but it's the same thing. And then the Warrens throw the doll in the back of their car, and they're driving it to their house, and weird stuff happens with it in their car,
Right.
and then that's when they place it in the box.
Okay. That works for me. I don't know. I have to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in forever. I just
So
remember them showing off Annabelle for the first time and stuff and talking about how what Annabelle does, like that she does notes and stuff. Which she does not do in Annabelle, the movie. She doesn't leave notes really. I guess she left the little paintings, little crappy paintings, the little kid
yeah,
finger
because
paintings.
because it because it's not Annabelle.
Yeah, it's a demon.
Yeah.
Which, okay, so I'm not really all that into like understanding demons and stuff, but are demons like former sorry, my cat is just going crazy right now. Well, Uh he's upset because I have to keep him inside because it's freaking cold outside. Um but yeah, are demons like former humans? Are they
No.
just entities that
Yeah,
just
they're just
somehow supernaturally exist?
they would be the same as like God creating angels or archangels or anything like that. These are
So the
minions of
devil
of
created them.
Satan's. Yeah.
So God, wait, does that mean that the devil has the same powers as God?
A little less, but it's up there.
I mean, I understand angels are powerful, but and he was a former angel, so fallen angel, but I'm just
I
like,
mean, like Satan can't create a world. I would imagine, like, where,
Because then
you
you get,
know,
I mean, he would have done that for sure if
I
he
mean,
could.
if Satan had the same powers as God, then he wouldn't have been kicked out of heaven. He would have just fought God and stayed in heaven.
Yeah, but like he would have kicked
So,
God out. Hey, get out.
hey,
This is my place now. You know.
yeah, it's possible. So
Mm,
it's, but I guess there's just different, and this is another thing that confused me with this, and I guess that it can be kind of maybe confused with anything, because what is the purpose? So what did the married couple do to get the demon
mm?
into the doll?
What do you mean?
Well, like in most movies, they use a
Oh,
Ouija
you're talking about the
board, and
original married couple, not the new married couple.
well, both of them.
No, because the other married couple had nothing to do with the demon already existed in that doll.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did.
No, and in creation,
No, no, no. I'm talking about in Annabelle.
no, but that's what I'm saying is, what did they do to get this? Like, the doll is there.
Right. They had to do some kind of sacrifice or something, right? You
Well,
know?
the original couple at the house in creation said it was okay for the spirit or the demon or Annabelle, whatever it was, to go into the doll.
Well, because right, I think what they didn't they say that they were like kind of praying or something that they could see their daughter again, and then something like spoke to them,
And the
you know?
demon, yeah, they it preyed on the weak.
Yeah. And
So
it kind of
it
came after them and said, you know, if you, if you create some kind of vessel, right? I will, Annabelle, because he was talking as if it was Annabelle. It was telling them it's Annabelle. And it
and it
really wasn't
lied.
Annabelle. It was
Yeah,
this demon. And then they allowed the demon, which they didn't know was the demon. They thought it was Annabelle because it seemed like Annabelle. All the stuff he was doing seemed, because what have we learned from demon movies like The Exorcist and whatnot is demons know more about you than you realize, right?
well,
When
they know
when
history and everything, yeah,
right,
because
they
they've
know
been around for
history
a
of you.
long time.
And they know what they know the stuff that the girl does, right? They know she leaves notes, they know she plays hide and seek. You know what I mean? So they use all of those things that, whatever to create that. So in creation that happened, you know?
Right. So then the husband in Annabelle somehow finds and this doll, and we're guessing there's more than one,
Right.
because she, oh my god, I can't believe you found it. It's and it must have been expensive, because he's like, well, we just won't be able to pay our rent for the next couple months.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not understanding the whole thing with the doll. I don't get it, because it's like you have those dolls like American Girl dolls. They say American Girl, and then each doll has a name. Okay, so when the guy in creation made Annabelle, what is the name of the doll? Is it like the Betty Sue doll
Maybe it was originally
collection?
going to be named after his daughter.
I don't know, because he did say, like I already mentioned, he told the guy after church, oh yeah, your doll is ready. So
Right.
is it just doll?
Jeez. Hold on one second. That cat will not be bothering us or me because he wasn't
Okay,
bothering you.
there we go. So I guess that's kind of my whole point with this is, if you have, like, let's say, a whole bunch of good guy dolls, they're not all named Chucky.
Right.
They're named Tommy, Marky, all that type of stuff. So,
Right.
and what was Annabelle's name before
Yeah,
Annabelle?
because at least
What
in
is it? Just,
Chucky,
is it doll?
it explains like that Charles Lee Ray was the spirit that haunted Chucky, right? So that was his nickname was Chucky, you know. So this
Right.
one, it shouldn't have been Annabelle unless Annabelle was the name of the demon. originally, right? Which it's
Right.
not. It's not.
That's my
But
point. So
that
it
should
doesn't.
have been the thing. That should have been what they did with it instead of try to go and make up a whole backstory of a kid getting killed and all this other shit to make that work, or even the cult leader shit, which didn't even make any sense whatsoever. Um, or even matter much. I mean,
I liked it because it's of the times. I mean, that's what was going on, like 1974 or around that time is Manson and everything. Like 72. So I
was
don't
there
mind
like a
that.
real origin with Annabelle? Like, was Annabelle? Did they get some of it right before and then just say fuck it or something? Like because there had to. I mean, obviously the Annabelle doll, which was the Raggedy Ann doll right behind me. Um, she was a or he or whatever Belial is. Um, it or they. Whatever their pronouns
It's played
are.
by a man,
You
so I
know,
guess we could say he.
I don't know. Was Belial a man really? I don't know.
It's played by a man.
Sort of. I
No,
guess you sort of.
it's played by a man. I
I mean,
mean,
but you
it's
say you see the spirit, but I don't know if that's Belial necessarily or just a spirit, you know?
the black thing that is moving Annabelle around. That's Belial. I may not be getting the name exactly correct, but that's
Okay.
there's the demon that's in the nun and that Valak, and then there's another demon which is an Annabelle, and that's like Belial. It is like, or I'm getting I'm somewhere in the area,
Yeah.
and that's so when we see Annabelle move and it like gets up and floats, that's the demon holding it up and moving it around
Right.
because we see
Okay.
that happen in creation.
Okay. Okay.
So it just so with the Raggedy Ann doll that you have there you go, you have there. Okay, a girl buys it and she gets Raggedy Ann, and but she does. I don't know if she would call it necessarily Raggedy Ann. She might. It's just the Raggedy Ann doll, so maybe she would call it Beth, or maybe in this case she named it Annabelle. So then the doll, then from the little girl who had it, that then got possessed by the demon, she would tell the police or her parents, no, this is what Beth did. Beth was the one who killed the dog. I didn't do it. Beth did. And from that moment on, it would always be known as Beth. But we've now seen two films where they clearly never say the doll's name is Annabelle.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense.
Nope. No, it doesn't. There's a lot of like mixed up problems, but
Yeah, unless it's like the American doll, American Girls doll, where you would have like 10 of that doll, and one is named Annabelle, the other one's named
or Spice
Susie
Girls
Lee,
dolls.
the other one is, yeah, I mean, you would buy the collection of Spice Girl dolls, but each one has a particular name.
Right. This
And this never had a name.
this never had a name. They never got a chance to before the because I guess he was saying yours ready. Then his daughter got killed, and he spent most of the time trying to figure out how to bring her back. Instead of, oh, hey, here's your doll. You know, I don't
Well, we're
know.
not sure. I
It's
mean, maybe there are more. Maybe the neighbor down the street who we talked to at the church has another doll.
maybe. So it was interesting because I guess it also showed where they, I guess at the end, where it sets up where the nurses they get it from the I guess the grandmother or something, found it, at a
Oh yeah, like her mom found it in like a thrift shop or an antique store,
and she was looking
and
for
the
something.
yeah, the woman behind the counter says, "Oh yeah, they not it, but they are very rare, so that's why it's more than everything else."
So that's why I was like, there's got to be more than one. There's got to be like it's because everybody knows who this doll is because when they pick up the doll or whatever, they said, "Oh, this completes the set." What set?
The
What?
set was already on the shelf.
Right. But
So there was the
was that a set of Annabelle dolls?
no, it was a there was Annabelle, and then there was like a white one that was a little smaller, and it was like off to the side there was like a black version. They all had the same dress with like the bow on the side. So I guess there's three dolls. One
No,
is the big Annabelle doll, one's a smaller white one, and then one is like a black doll.
it would be funny if one of them had their like head taken off at one point. Like Annabelle was mad at the other dolls.
She kind of does that. I mean, the demon destroys the other dolls, like melts
Yeah,
them
but
and all that
I
type of
thought it would be
stuff.
funnier if like you walked into one scene and they just saw like the head of one of the dolls. They're like, what the, you know, what is going
Annabelle's
on
just
here?
standing there holding the doll, like the head of the doll.
Yeah, holding the hand of the doll while rocking back and forth on her chair.
Yeah. Well, let me, before we run out of time, because I like doing this. So Annabelle was made for 6.5 million.
Wow, that's cheap.
Okay. Box office 257.6 million.
That's $251 million more profit.
That is a friggin' hit, man.
Yeah, that's a hit there. I mean, the who owns this property? It's played on HBO Max, but it's not Universal, is it?
No, it's Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers, that's right. Warner Brothers Discovery, you know.
Well, these days.
Yeah, now it's Warner Brothers Discovery. I wonder what they're going to be doing with The Conjuring. I mean they have the Nun 2 that's coming out this year, but afterwards, are they going to be like changing things up or something? I
No,
don't
I
know.
think as long as it makes money, they don't care. They're just going to continue making them,
Doing what they're
probably.
doing because I remember they were having problems with like Harry Potter's newest movie. Now, and it's not just well, actually, it is probably because of the tweets and shit that
Well,
the
J.K. Rowling, yeah, that's
yeah, it
now a
did.
problem, but
Yeah.
James Wan is not a problem. James
Right,
Wan's a
right,
hit
right.
maker, so
Yeah, he's a hit maker, so they're probably gonna keep using him for whatever, you know. I'm
yeah,
I'm
and
happy to see. What?
we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I mean, yeah, we got the Nun 2. I think that they are talking about Conjuring 4. And then for Insidious, there's Insidious 5, but that's Sony. So, but he's doing all these are coming back.
Oh, and I heard like maybe the Slender Man thing or something. Like
Well, there was the Crooked Man, I
Crooked
think.
Man, that's what it
Yeah,
was.
that was supposed to happen during the Nun, but it didn't. I think because the Nun got such bad reviews or something that they canceled it. But there was supposed to be a couple more. There were like three more, and the Crooked Man was the next one, and they canceled it.
Yeah, because I think what 2 had a bunch of different like you got to see all these different creatures, right? Or something. A lot of these different ghosts and stuff that were like artifacts inside the Warrens, right?
They're well in the house when they go to England is when some of these things pop up.
Oh, okay. Well,
So I'm looking up Conjuring 2 now because it tells you. Okay, so spin-offs, so there were only two. The Nun, which they made obviously, and The Crooked Man.
which they haven't made.
Right.
Well, that'd be cool. That'd be cool if they did it, or they don't do it, Because I mean, they could always bring it back, you know. That's the beauty of these things is like these entities kind of just exist in this world, It's kind of like I think I was talking to you before about it, but I've got like tomorrow I should be getting the Tobin Spirit Guide, and that's the Ghostbusters book,
Oh yeah.
has a bunch of the spirits and different things, classifications, different things like that. And it's so cool because it has all basically all the ghosts you kind of see in the movies and I think maybe even the television shows and stuff. And that would be cool if like The Conjuring did stuff like that, where you get to meet more of the stuff that's there, and maybe even explore ones that they're eventually gonna do in another movie, another universe movie.
Probably a website would work best for that because then they could take stuff off, update it. They could do all that stuff.
That would be kind of cool, but I still would like a book. because I mean, I always like to read these things. This just kind of cool. It's neat to like explore, you know. If you're on
Sure.
a website, it just kind of gets boring after a little bit. It's like, okay, I'm done for like 5 minutes. When I'm reading, I can maybe get lost in about 20 minutes, 30
That's why we
minutes.
have Wikipedia.
Well, Wikipedia, man, it keeps telling me I need to donate money.
That's what it wants a lot of. So,
Well, yeah, well, needs because everybody goes to Wikipedia and they don't make any money on advertisements, which they should.
who knows? But yeah, I don't know. I'm now questioning all of this.
All of
So it doesn't.
Annabelle.
Yeah, I'm not. I would really like to, as I'm sure I'm probably thinking way too much into it, but especially when you're watching it in order, it doesn't.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't know, and I didn't realize that last time. I only realized it on
And
this viewing.
honestly, this was like my least favorite so far of the stuff that like I even like this least like less than the Nun. I thought it had some pretty okay moments, but all in all, it was sort of lackluster, for
I
me.
I I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, it could have been 20 minutes longer. Oh, yeah, one of the guys that's cut is a like I said, is like the landlord maintenance guy. And he's in like a ton of stuff, but he like brings the movie down a little bit because for some reason he's like a comic book kind of weird maintenance guy that's a little sleazy. Like we don't know if like he's with the wife a lot because the husband's at the hospital, and you don't know if like he's going to try and attack her or like try to rape her or something.
Right.
And but he comes off a little cartoonish, and so
It's
I'm
probably a
glad
big
they
reason why they
actually
got
cut
rid of
him.
it.
Yeah, there's like the at the beginning when the husband and wife and they're with the baby, they go out and they're waiting at the elevator,
Hmm.
and then it opens, and then it cuts to them leaving, and that's where the wife sees the black woman who owns the bookstore. In between there's a very long awkward scene of wife, baby, husband, and the landlord,
Hmm.
and he keeps like touching the baby. And I'm like, why are you touching the baby? Like, he's like, oh, look at your nose. I'm like, stop touching the fucking baby. And he keeps doing it, and I don't know if it's intentional or not. Like they said, oh yeah, your character's kind of creepy, so like touch the baby. And then he even makes a comment when they leave, like, oh, if you need a babysitter, just give me a call. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. So
Yeah,
it's nice
you'll
that
just touch
he's
my fucking baby the whole time. Thanks. No, no,
I
thanks.
I yeah, I brought this up with somebody else where I hate touching. I don't know why people have to. It would be like if I came over to your house and you're like, oh yeah, I just got that painting on the wall, and I go up and I put my hand on it. Like, oh yeah, that's nice. Why do you have to fucking touch everything? People, stop touching shit. People don't like to be touched. Babies don't want to be touched. Animals, maybe, unless you're a dickhead and they know it. Stop touching all this stuff. The writer from Jeepers Creepers Reborn. There's a scene where they're inside like an antique store, and the main guy, touches everything. And I even told the writer, I'm like, why is he touching everything? Stop touching everything.
And what did the writer say?
And he's like, he just touched everything.
Like,
That's
was that in the script?
I don't think so. No, I think that, well, there's a few scenes. Yeah, like he touches the top of like a dollhouse and it like pricks his finger,
Oh, well,
and he's
then
like,
that makes
ow.
sense.
And then, but it's really like he's just walking around. It's probably intentional because if I'm remembering correctly, like the girlfriend tells him to stop touching everything.
Right.
But it just, oh my god, it's like this new thing I've developed over like the last year, where it's like, stop. Like I see people at my
Do you
job.
think it's a like a COVID thing too? Like, now that now you don't want people touching you. Get away,
I don't
Might have
know.
COVID.
It's like I don't want people in my apartment because then they're just going to touch things. Leave shit alone. There's a reason why this is right here. That's where I want it. Stop
Right.
touching everything. So it's I don't know where I was going with that, but I think I lost track of why I
It's
brought that
okay,
up. But
but you still sort of had it to do with Annabelle, so that's good. It wasn't completely going like, on
Yeah,
something else.
it's just such a weird thing with, and I know they did it, yeah, in Annabelle, and I kept, well, okay, in Annabelle Goes Home, the girl who's the friend breaks into the Warrens' room and fucking touches everything.
Well, that's kind of a little girl thing to do
She's
anyway.
a
Like,
teenager.
well, I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah, teenagers, they like to,
but
you
but
know,
stop. It's like I've reviewed some stuff like that deals with like white people going to other countries and then they get killed. Green Inferno, Hostel, or whatever it is. People stop going to foreign countries. Just stay in America, because
why?
white
A
people are
lot
the
of
ones
people
that
like to
always see,
travel.
and they get murdered in movies, especially, and
Well, I
they get
mean,
murdered. You
I
try to go
mean
down and help natives in some foreign country, and you end up being their dinner.
that
You
that I can't wait. I think for actual horror film lovers, at some point we're gonna review Green Inferno with me and Sarah. I do. It's one of those movies where I'm just like, Eli Roth got it right. I really enjoyed that one. Um,
It
but
was good.
that was
So
fun. And I like Eli Roth. A lot of people don't for some reason, and that sucks because I feel like he gets like sort of the short end of the stick a lot of times when he makes movies that, like, in the beginning he was making movies that a lot of people loved, and then all of a sudden it just kind of became like, oh, it's another Eli Roth movie, and I'm like, yeah, it's another Eli Roth movie, man. I'm excited. I don't
I
know,
got to meet him on the set of the remake of 2000 Maniacs.
right?
So briefly.
Was
So, but
he seemed nice?
he was busy producing.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was my buddy Cliff and I were there, and oh God, what's his name? The director of Intruder, Sam
Scott
Raimi's
Spiegel.
buddy. Scott Spiegel is who we mostly hung out with,
Oh, that's
and he
nice.
showed
He's a
us
good guy.
footage and all that type of stuff. So, but
Yeah, they're all buddy buddy, like with Quentin Tarantino, and
yeah,
yeah.
but
Anyway,
I don't know. I didn't hate Annabelle, and I think that we have to realize that this is the first of the Annabelle movies. So maybe they weren't 100% that it would have sequels
but
and
then it did.
prequels,
I mean,
and
then it blew up, and I mean, $257 million. Jesus Christ. So
yeah.
there you go. It became a hit, and they were like, okay, we're doing something, good. Like, here, let's keep it going, you
Let's just
know.
retcon the entire thing for the next two movies.
Let's just confuse the fuck out of everybody. Why not?
Yeah, and with Annabelle, I thought it was well directed. The writing didn't bother me. It's just when I guess when you watch
Them
Annabelle
back to back,
Creation
it doesn't work out.
first,
Yeah.
it's a lot more ghosty and action packed, while Annabelle is more like The Haunting. It's more
It's more character
doors
driven,
creaking, and
you know.
yeah, it's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of walking. There's a lot of windows closing or doors opening, and so it's more of a traditional film. So I could probably see why people would find it boring, especially after like the Conjuring and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
but
I liked it enough where I mean, I didn't hate it. It just sort of was like, I watched one review today, and the person did not like it, and everything was just, it was Chris Stuckman, which he liked Creation, and I'm like, I bet if he watched them back to back like that, he'd be confused as hell and not know, like, I don't know, but yeah.
I've disagreed with some of his reviews, so it's I
uh
tend to wonder if maybe he's one of those guys that if he gives something a good review, he then gets free tickets or something.
well, he does bad reviews too, and that was and he even talked about later that he hated, uh like, he doesn't like doing the reviews anymore because it doesn't, he wants to be in the film business, and if he gives bad reviews, to, because he never got into it to do reviews. Like, that wasn't his plan, you know. His plan was to make movies, not to be a reviewer. And so when he started getting more, you know, more interest with his reviews, and he would do negative reviews, people like that. I even saw a whole YouTube video on negative reviews and why people flock to those more
I
than
do.
positive reviews.
Yeah.
And the reason being is generally because we as a we we want to sort of see what we don't want to see, right? Like my brother talked to me yesterday, said he wants to watch Black Adam for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever, to know he does not like that movie, you know, right? I go, why even waste your time for 5, 10 minutes
Well,
when
because
you're not going to like something?
technically, if you haven't seen it, you can't say anything about it.
Exactly. That was his point. But what I'm saying is, like, when you do that, like you're giving energy to like negativity because you already know going in, you're most likely not gonna enjoy it, you
But
know?
I also know that I haven't heard anything from One Direction, and I know they suck. So it's in
Right.
all, and they all suck. So it's like
So
so
you
I don't
don't
know.
need to see a person do a negative review of One Direction because you pretty much already know
Automatically
that's what's
no.
gonna end up happening,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
I
that
think that the consensus for Annabelle was negative, was pretty bad. I think Creation got better reviews, and I did see somebody who said that they thought Creation was the worst of the three. I disagree with that. I think it's the best of the three.
Creation.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Comes Home in Forever. I watched that years ago, so when we do that, I'll let you know my thoughts. But
Yeah, I
so
have a
far,
very,
so
very
far,
big
Creation
problem at the
is
beginning.
better, in my opinion, than Annabelle 1. So as long as
It's more solid. I mean, the Creation is more solid. And Annabelle is, I think, the whole the I like the cult stuff of the family being killed, all that doesn't bother me. um I kind of like that it doesn't really have anything to do with, except that the ghost Annabelle, keeps showing up in Annabelle,
mhm.
which
And yeah, it was
I
just
don't get.
weird a little bit. And then on top of that, Annabelle, um, Annabelle was there wasn't much of the name Annabelle, like the girl didn't know, oh, this doll's called Annabelle. They never mentioned
No, that's my
Annabelle's
point.
name.
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
Yeah, in the
We've had
movie
two
Annabelle.
movies where the doll is never called Annabelle.
Right. And so this doll isn't actually named Annabelle.
No, it's
Yeah.
just named Doll.
Yeah. She
The
can't
doll
call a movie
moved.
doll.
Well, I'm making a short film called The Doll.
But in uh don't they mention Annabelle in Conjuring? Like, don't they call it the Annabelle doll?
Yeah, because in Conjuring we see the case with Annabelle in it.
Right. So they do call it that. So I guess it is called it.
In Conjuring, it does, but in these two films, so to call it Annabelle and Annabelle Creation doesn't make sense because the doll's name is not Annabelle;
Yeah.
it's just Doll.
Yep.
You might as well
But
call it Steve. It just doesn't. Because then, if you think about it, in Annabelle, there's like three things. So there's the doll of Annabelle, there's the Belial thing, and then you got the cult girl who is Annabelle, who's running around for some reason.
real quick, I want to talk about the ending because it sort of bothered me. Um, so the so we in the beginning of the movie, we sort of get a setup that the mother cares more about the child than herself. You know, she's at one point she says she wants to, if she dies in childbirth, to make sure that that you let the child live and not me. Like if you had a choice between me or the
Yeah,
child,
yeah. So
pick
yeah,
the
if there's
child.
complications and you had to pick one or the other, pick the child. Yeah.
Pick the child, right? And the whole time the husband does not want to do that. Like he's John, I think is the guy's name, right? And the mother's name is Mia.
Yeah.
And so John says no. Well, or he kind of says, we'll talk about that whatever, right? Like
Well,
he kind
he's
of
trying to
doesn't.
be positive. He's trying to
Right.
say that no, you're not going to die during childbirth. The kid will be fine. You will be fine. So let's not talk about it.
So I hear this discussion and I go, oh, that's going to be something that's going to come back later, you know, like toward the end of the movie or something, or maybe like if maybe she does actually go through complications or something, right? She doesn't. Later, the doll Belial wants her soul or wants well originally he wants the little girl's soul, I guess, but
No, I don't think so.
it
No.
never wanted the little girl's soul. Okay,
No, and the wife did go through complications because she went through early childbirth.
right,
So by her hitting the ground with her belly, that forced her
right,
to
okay,
to give birth. So technically that's so that's why the doctor, the husband is running to her. He thinks there's something horrible happened. She's like, look behind you, and there's the nurse with the baby. And so according to the woman that owns the bookstore, is it has to be a willing thing to do, and a baby is not willing.
right.
So Belial basically fucks with the baby, and then it's like, okay, take your life because you just said it, my life or hers. I'll leave the baby alone, and then I'll have your soul.
Yeah. So, but then the Evelyn, I think was her
Yeah,
name, or
Evelyn. Yeah,
Evelyn wanted to instead sacrifice herself because she thought, that's what my kid would have wanted me to do and blah blah blah. So she sacrificed herself. She jumps out the window with the doll and lets the doll, I guess, take her life or whatever, take her soul, right? What was the point? Does it go into the doll?
no, I guess it leaves the family because it got a willing soul. So Annabelle or doll is still possessed by Belial and is just waiting up on that shelf for somebody to come and buy it.
Right. So then
So
now it needs another soul?
I guess it just keeps wanting souls.
I,
That's what
okay.
that's what it does because her soul doesn't go into the doll. I didn't even know that you had to hold the doll. Why couldn't you just jump out the window and
Well,
say,
in
take my soul?
creation, the girl holds up the doll and then the doll like puts the smoke or whatever, the spirit into her, you know?
No, the ghost girl does in
What?
creation.
I thought it was the
No, the crippled girl gets pushed down into like the barn. She's on the
okay.
wheelchair, and then B or Annabelle chases the ghost, chases her around, tackles the crippled girl, gets on top of her, does all the black slime into her mouth,
Okay.
which basically the demons leaving a ghost going into a
But I thought that
live
was from the
person.
doll. I thought that was because that's the doll's the spirit of the is the spirit from the little girl
No,
is the
because
spirit of
in
the
in this one, Evelyn said it's either I think it's this one where the spirit is not in the doll, it's around the doll,
Oh, okay.
which
It
is
was this
why
one because like at one point the priest is trying to go into the church or whatever and gets knocked down by the spirit, which I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right because I thought demons couldn't go into churches, you know?
right. So technically the doll itself is not possessed. That's why the Belial keeps holding the doll up. So then when Belial goes into the little crippled girl, she's always holding on to the doll because the doll's not possessed. She
Right.
is. None of it really makes sense.
None of it
They don't
makes
follow
sense.
their own rules.
No.
And I think the next one is The Conjuring, which is going to make stuff even more confusing.
Oh God. Yeah, the
Yeah, The
next one is
Conjuring
The
is
Conjuring
next.
is next. Oh boy. Because that was the beginning of it all where they weren't even thinking they were going to have all these backstories or all these
Uh-uh.
different like like technical tones and different things to set everything up. I mean, if they see that's okay. So I swear to God, I think Hollywood films should always go in thinking they're going to be. Everything's going to be a hit. Have things lined up ahead of time. Like if this movie is a hit, we can make another, another movie, and then they give like, they have all these things backed up. Because the thing is, how many, we have sequels all the time now. We are sequel whores in the world, you know, and prequels, and we like that. We like universes, cinematic universes.
Yeah, but one of the problems with that is, and I get what you're saying, the problem is, what if, let's say it's meant to be a trilogy and then the first one sucks and doesn't have an
Right.
ending?
But see, that's the thing. I mean, you don't leave it. You do like Star Wars did. Star Wars left it where the first one was where it they could have had a sequel or not, kind of ends with them all, kind of celebrating, but that's it.
Well, the big thing with the original Star Wars was Vader flipping through space.
Right.
Like, and all of us as kids were like, "Oh my God, Vader survived. Is there going to be a second movie?" Because they could
Right.
have ended it with the celebration and the medals, which sadly Chewie never got. And then it ends in Star Wars as Star Wars. But because that one thing of just Vader flipping, that he was never shot down, that
Yeah.
opened it up for a sequel. So I think if you do something like Annabelle and you bring up this cult and you do all that, you just have to work with the cult.
Well, yeah, you have to work with the cult. You have to figure out how did the cult thing, work with the creation of Annabelle, you know? But the sad thing is, like, and I swear to God, I think it's the same writer from Annabelle that did Annabelle creation. Gary Dauberville or whatever. Um, if I'm correct. I mean, I could be completely wrong.
No, I think he
Um,
wrote a lot of them.
yeah. So Doberman, it always reminds me of Doberman. Um, but he also wrote the It movies, and I fucking love those movies. So I love
Oh
this
God,
guy.
I do not.
Really?
Um,
Okay.
I prefer the '80s version.
He also wrote, by the way, he also wrote two Man-Eaters movies.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah, that's how he got started. Um, but all right. So he had done Annabelle. That was like the first one. And then he did Annabelle Creation. Did he do the and then he wrote The Nun, and then he did
Annabelle
screenplay by
comes.
Annabelle Comes Home. And that's it so far.
Oh yeah, and he's the director of Annabelle Comes Home.
Oh, nice. So they finally let him direct? Huh.
Yeah, I guess worked his way up there.
Well, good for him. Oh, and he's directing Salem's Lot next.
Which I believe is done. But
It says it's completed.
yeah,
We'll see when it comes out.
it's
Um,
one of the it's a COVID thing, I believe.
it's a what?
A COVID thing.
Like it took a while because of COVID?
Yeah, something like that. Like it was supposed to be out, I think, like last year or the year before.
That's what happened. Your favorite movie of the year, Top Gun, Maverick,
And I was
which
held for a
I'm
while.
gonna watch before the end of the year. Trust me, I will watch it. I'll let you know. It's on Paramount Plus. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, it was
I'm
originally set to come out in September of 22.
awesome.
Was Salem's Lot.
Well, I don't know. I if he had just figured, I mean, maybe it was a studio thing too. Maybe the studios kept pushing different stuff into, that didn't make any sense, and they just kind of tried to make it work, you know? Um, maybe they really
Well,
wanted a whole family or a whole orphanage thing.
it's like I don't get studios because okay, the Terminator series. So one and two obviously go together. Three, without saying one and two go with it, does work.
Yeah.
So it's they there are things that are mentioned in one and two that are in part three without them really saying it's a sequel to one and two. So three does work. Even Salvation works because it actually brings up there's the tape that the Guns N' Roses song from part two that's
But it
in
also, yeah, but
part
also
four.
it's a lot more about John and stuff.
Well, but once again, it never says the sequel to part three.
Right.
So now when they do Terminator Genesis, All they had to do, because at the very end of Salvation is you see all the planes fly and they're going to go attack like Skynet. All they had to do was in Genesis was remove one thing or not do it at all, which is how John Connor meets Kyle Reese. If they had removed that one scene at the beginning, it would have been perfectly matched with the other three films. And then they could have continued from there or just stop and then, do Dark Fate.
And then
But
5 and 6, they're just like, let's just throw everything out the window.
well, that then Dark Fate came after that and that was garbage. But
No, I think
it's
it was
my but
was it Genesis, right?
no,
Genesis
I
is
just said
next.
Genesis.
Genesis and then Dark Fate.
No,
Yeah.
Genesis is what I'm talking about. Yeah, is where if they didn't do the Kyle Reese, John Connor scene, it would have matched
Oh,
perfectly. So
I
the
thought you were
same.
talking about
So
Salvation for some reason. So
no,
sorry.
no. Um, so my point is, I don't understand why Hollywood basically just like throws in one thing that fucks up the entire series.
Look, you know what? I'm just gonna say right now, Annabelle creation is the Halloween I don't know 7, or Halloween H2O, Halloween H2, maybe Halloween H2O, where it just like they just retcon things, that doesn't make any sense to the rest of the other the ones that came before it. Like, and Halloween
Well, yeah,
what is
H2O, but at least they say that it's a sequel to part two.
yeah. So, but see, we haven't gotten to that. We haven't gotten enough. Well, maybe now we have, because now we've got enough Annabelle movies where we can start saying, okay, well, if we want to do that, well, we'll just make this a sequel to Conjuring, or whatever,
Well,
and
and that's what we'll find out on the next two videos is we'll watch Conjuring and see where Annabelle and the nurses and all that fit in, and then we'll watch Goes Home, which confuses the fuck out of me, and I don't that film frustrates the shit out of me, and then I think it's dropped. I don't think I think Annabelle then just sits behind glass then
yeah,
because then
until
they get
they
into
until they
Valak,
decide to do another Annabelle movie, which I'm
which I
surprised they
wouldn't be
haven't,
surprised.
you know, after it comes home.
Well, I guess we'll see how part two does, or something, none two.
Maybe Conjuring 4 will have a scene where somebody steals the Annabelle doll from the Warrens or something. Because it's not like a lot of this is completely based on truth or whatever,
Oh, none
you
of
know what I
it's
mean?
based on
Yeah.
truth. It's all
Right.
fake. It's
Well,
all
I'm just saying
phony.
is like it tries to like say like, some of the stories kind of go on to different, what I mean, things. So I mean, like, based on the Warrens account at Amityville, based on the Warrens account at this home, or the Annabelle story, or whatever, like they just try to say, okay, well, the Warrens are sort of connected to this whole thing. I mean, after a while, Patrick Wilson and Vera are going to be like, I think we're done being, like we're
Well,
done playing
that's when
this
you give
role.
them more of a role. That's probably why they gave Patrick Wilson Insidious 5, and then at some
Oh,
point,
to direct?
they're then they're probably
Yeah.
going to give her something like, oh yeah, we'll give you like an executive producer
They
role.
should get her to direct something. I think she could make some real good, unless she doesn't want to. That's the thing. Not everybody wants to be a director, you know.
Yeah, you offer them different things, or
Yeah.
off the back end, they offer her like a shitload of money, like Jack Nicholson with Batman. He took nothing up front. He wanted back end, and that's how he became a millionaire, is because he got money off the back end.
That's smart.
Yeah, so that's same thing with Lucas with Star Wars. He
With
just
merchandising, yeah.
he wanted
Merchandising.
toys. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and of course Fox is like, take it.
My favorite story recently was Kevin Smith. Originally how he got was it God damn it. It was similar to the merchandise. Oh, Jay and Silent Bob, right? The lawyers came in, a lawyer came into the Miramax and said, Kevin Smith will sign the contract for Clerks, but he wants to keep Silent Jay and Silent Bob he wants to move on and be able to do, he's got something great, with Universal and all these things. He wants to keep the name for his own. Like, who is Jay? They go, they look over, who is Jay and Silent Bob? So the company was just like, oh, the two stoner characters that are in Clerks. All right, they're like they're nobodies. And
Right.
that was the smartest thing that ever happened because, Jay and Silent Bob got their own movies and, they're more famous than Dante and Randall.
Right.
Um, but that's what you gotta do. You gotta like, you gotta say, hey, I want to keep the rights to these characters because otherwise somebody could go off and, make a fortune off your shit.
Well, there's a whole book on that the Warrens wrote, and that's where they're getting these stories from. The book's like that thick or something, and that's where they're getting all the stories from, so that they worked on. But I don't think that, like I mentioned in the last video, I think like Conjuring 2, the one in the UK, I don't think that they actually went to the UK. If they did go to the UK, it was just to advise.
Hmm.
And then Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, I think they had very little to do with
Yeah.
that. But they were part of it, but just a small amount. Because
And then so they had to fictionalize it to make it
oh
more
my god, it is
interesting.
that thing fictionalized. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well, I mean, it has to sort of be because it's not really, I mean, other than yes, there was a court case, but nobody wants to see a real court case because that's just boring, you know? Like, have you ever watched court TV back in the day?
well, yeah, I have watched it. But then
Yeah,
that's when you
so
get into like the what is it, the exorcism of Emily Rose, where you have basically, the regular lawyers that are suing on behalf of the parents, and then you have the church who's on the other side saying that it was the exorcism and a demon that killed her, while the parents are saying no, the priest killed her. And then you're showing both sides during the movie,
right.
who's, which one is actually real. And I think that's the problem with some of these. Like I get the nun, but something like the Devil Made Me Do It is just a little too far out.
Right.
I could believe the Conjuring, I could believe Conjuring 2, but for some reason part 3, I'm like, this just seems
Mm-mm.
really Hollywoody to me.
Hollywoody.
Hollywoody. So
Hollywoodian.
yeah, but that we'll get to
We'll
that one
get into
soon
that. We'll
enough.
get into that later, but we are now on to like our rating thing.
Yeah.
So uh I'm gonna go flat out and say 2 stars for me. It was okay. Like, would I recommend this? Yes, to anybody who wants to watch it like in order like we do. But if you're just a normal moviegoer or something and you want to watch a killer doll movie, Chucky, pick
Yeah,
Chucky. Like,
Chucky's much better.
I would like, yeah, this movie is, an interesting, historic thing for Annabelle, but like other than that, yeah. What about
Yeah,
you?
I would probably go 2.5. And
Yeah, because you always go like a step higher than I do
I'm only
generally.
I'm only giving it 0.5 more because I enjoyed it more this time. If I'd only seen it twice, like if we'd done this a while back, I probably would have done two. But I did
This is,
enjoy it more. I thought, oh, this is more like a haunted house movie. This is more like The Haunting. It's more windows popping up and down, and it's not an action movie. It's more dialogue and yeah, character driven. And so I'm giving it that 0.5 more.
I mean, it wasn't bad for that, but like, and it was character driven, which I mean, I did enjoy Mia. I didn't like the name, the idea that they called the child Leah, Mia and Leah. Really? Could they
It's
have,
funny you say that because I was thinking like, okay, so Mia is MIA, missing in action, and Leah is the LEAH. So it's like, okay, so Mia, Leah, but yet Mia doesn't have an H,
yeah.
and Leah does have an H. But those names are similar. They say that you should not do that in screenwriting. Like you should not have two characters with the letter J.
And they
You
were
know,
they were making jokes about, oh, we'll call him Phyllis and shit and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, we're getting a little bit of information about these two couples, and they were cute. I liked them. They, I liked, and you spent a lot of time with Mia,
Yeah.
and so that was good. And I like Annabelle Wallace. I thought she did a great job. She's also in *Malignant*, also produced by, uh,
Oh,
you know,
okay. Yes, yes,
oh,
yes. We'll get to that at some
we
point too.
we get to that at some point. So
Yeah.
I I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. Like I had a pretty okay time. Like, I was happy to watch it. You know, would I ever watch it again? If somebody asked me to watch Annabelle, well, I wouldn't watch it on my own. I honestly, this is the second time I've watched it. And other than just because I have the Blu-ray, and I've never watched it since I've like the last time. So I don't think I ever really want to, you know.
I'm never watching any of these again.
You're
It's gonna
done. You're
be
done.
20 years and then maybe I'll watch one. But
Yeah, you're like I'm
yeah.
yeah, it's also you're actually going into like deep diving into stuff. You're listening to the
Well,
commentaries and
yeah. I mean, I don't think that we would be doing this if I didn't watch them a second time around in the order that they were, by year of the movies. And then it
yeah.
was like, oh, this could be kind of cool. Maybe let's do Conjuring, but in that order, which then makes it three times now that I'm going through it. So,
You
but
don't want
yeah,
to get
it's
done with this and then watch it again, but in the order of of its actual. You're really like, nope, I'm done. I'm done with this show. Like you couldn't do it, you know. All right. Um,
no,
moving
no.
on. All right, so we are done with this episode. We'll be back. I guess we'll be back next week with The Conjuring. Yeah.
The Conjuring, yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
always loved the Conjuring, like the first one. I always loved it. So we'll see how
Oh,
it
it's a good movie.
stacks up.
It, by itself, it's a great film, but it just I don't think from what I know, but I didn't notice that with Annabelle that it did work continuity wise. But I did notice with Conjuring, it also did not. But maybe
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe because I didn't notice it with Annabelle and I did notice it with Conjuring, maybe it will. I don't know. Maybe like I'm wrong, but
we'll
I don't
find
know.
out.
I think that it got retconned, and it's all
Yeah.
the Annabelle stuff. I think so.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and everybody, just know if you guys noticed, I was it promoting my indie film cafe mug.
Oh, there's your mug. Hold it right in front of you
Ah,
because that's how you see it best. There you go.
there you go. And in a few months, April or May, spring, we're hoping to launch a website. Well, we have the website. We have the Sick Lake Productions website. We want to do a store that will have all the merchandising stuff, which also include horror film lovers, since that was a spinoff from. See, this was the spinoff. Just like Annabelle, this is a spinoff of Indie Film
Ah,
Cafe.
there you go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
But yeah, so we're gonna have mugs and shirts and different things there that you guys can purchase in a few months. So keep checking back. I'm sure by the time we're halfway done with this or more than done with this series of James Wan stuff, we'll be able to promote the the stuff you can buy. And I want to have my own horror film lovers mug, so I may just get one made soon anyway.
Easy enough to
Just
make.
yeah, they definitely are. And I've got somebody who makes them like specifically,
There you
That's
go.
that's how we do it. So
I
anyway,
I made
thank
my own.
you should make your own. This is a
Oh, I
big part of
do.
your
I
I'm
have
saying
I
for
have
horror film lovers, you should make your own mug for it.
I should for that because I have Axmus. I have Axmus 2, which I'm not really happy with.
You have your Dark Park mug,
I
right?
have the Dark Park mug, which I like, and I have the One Filmmaker mug. So I should do horror film lovers, yeah.
Yeah,
And I have Indie Film Cafe. I made
yeah.
my own
So
mug of
you're
that.
already, you're already this is all part of your world,
Yeah.
and everything. So thank you, John. This has been awesome. I
Yeah.
really
Thank you.
appreciated everything. And everybody else, I hope you guys enjoyed it and check us out next week for The Conjuring.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.